Oh man, I was in a much better mood yesterday. Jesus Christ. I can't catch a break. It's been 3 bad weeks. Today is not a good day. Of course, I did a YouTube yesterday on SGEN when CGEN when um, I've owned it for like the last 2 weeks. I should have waited one more day. Um, I don't think that this is dead by any means. Obviously, you're dealing with just one person on the Seagen side, which is the Baker brothers, and it's just up to them whether they want to sell or not. They can't be forced into a sale based on stock pressure or anything like that. It's my belief, if you really read and parse through the Bloomberg article, which I have in front of me right now, and I'm going to go through it, that there's a lot in here, this article, that is positive, and there's a lot that could have been in here that's not, that would have killed the deal. So, for instance, the first two lines in the Bloomberg article are Seagen deal would be biggest for Merck in more than a decade, and talks could still resume and possibly lead to an agreement. Okay, the first line is in present tense. It doesn't say Seagen deal would have been the biggest for Merck in more than a decade. It says would be. Okay. Second line, talks could still resume, possibly to an agreement. There, and then they added, I think they added the second paragraph this morning. The companies have so far failed to agree on a price, said the people who asked them to be identified. The talks could still resume and possibly yield an agreement, the people said. What's important about all of this, I think, is that if Merck wanted to walk for any other reason, FTC, competitive data that came out in early August, that would be leaked, and that'll be the end of the story. Okay. We also don't know for sure what the bid-ask difference is between Seagen and Merck. They've been negotiating since June. Okay, they had to have been in the right ballpark to make it this far. For them to have got into advanced talks in early July, with prices thrown out above 200, there was a tight range of where this was going to end out. Now, obviously, they lost the arbitration, and clearly that hit a snag to where they now disagree with the company's worth. But it all really just comes down to whether or not the Baker brothers want a clean exit from this. They've owned the stock for 20 years. It's half of their portfolio, and they're not going to be able to wake up any day and find a buyer for a $40 billion company. I'm not saying that they hit the bid, but I think there's a better chance than not that they still sell the company. And if you've noticed, Wall Street Journal has not reported on this yet. And Wall Street Journal is the one that broke the talks in June, broke the advanced talks in July, and broke the that they weren't going to have the deal by earnings in July. They broke all three of those stories, not Bloomberg. And now we have Bloomberg breaking that they have hit a snag on price. Now, the worst part of the article is it says they've stalled for now. You know, stalled almost sounds like they're not talking anymore, but especially when it says talks could still resume. But literally all it takes is a phone call from the Baker brothers saying, you know, let's meet in the middle somewhere, whatever, and this deal is done on Monday. And I think there's a decent chance we have a deal on Monday. You know, this is not going to take weeks. Either they're going to bridge the gap between the two sides or they won't. And what will the price look like? It's really impossible to know. I would think on the lowest end, you'd have a 190 price, and you could still have it up to 210 because we don't really know where the gap is. We don't know if it's that Baker brothers want 220 and Merck wants to pay 200. I think that's probably unlikely. It's probably more likely that the Baker brothers want 205, 210, and Merck wants to pay 190. But it's not some $5 gap. It's probably a pretty big gap. I would think it would get done over a $5 gap. So what I did was bought 160, 170 call spreads and 160, 165 call spreads in September. I mean, I'm just throwing more money away in this thing. I have like about 300 basis points exposed now. And If you want to buy common, your downside is probably 135 at the worst, and your upside, assuming it trades with a decent spread, is 170 to 180. So, I don't think that's that terrible either. Now with NCR, there's a report today that they don't have the financing, so that the Street Insider report was wrong. We're just basically back to where we were yesterday with NCR. So I'm still constructive on that. I still think that works out. I'm obviously disappointed that that we got the article yesterday that it was fake or false, potentially false. And the market's a disaster. I don't know what to say. The IS spread is totally blowing out. I don't own that anymore, the spread. I just own IS, and I own some app. Peloton's a disaster. That's all call spreads, and I'm short some out of the money puts. And the market's imploding. So this is a bad day. That's it. That's all I got. I'm super fucking pissed off right now. I just wanted to throw it out there since I literally just did a YouTube on this yesterday and it blew up today. So I'm keeping a lookout for the Wall Street Journal reporting on this. And we'll see. We'll see. I think that if they made it as far as they did over the last 3 months, they have to be in the right ballpark, and it has to be close. I'm sure this really pissed off the Baker brothers, though, leaking that the talks have stalled. But maybe the talks are dead, dead. So that was what I was always concerned about, that we'd get a leak that said it was over. And that's possibly what we just got yesterday, that it's all over. But I was willing to risk a little bit more money on call spreads to see it out. I think it could happen Monday or it would happen, Glenn, or after Labor Day for SGEN. But all it takes is just, at this point, write the price in. I'm sure everything else is completely done. Contracts and everything. So if they agree on the price, they press release the deal. With NCR, it's after Labor Day. Not like the Monday after Labor Day, but I'm sure they're doing nothing right now. All right, I am going to crawl in a hole. Bye, everybody. Stay safe out there.